you can see it's a little crowded back in here, but we're able to wiggle our way in. Our filter system is a standard wet-dry trickle filter. It's got a large Milwaukee water pump driving it, and there's also a 1/3 horsepower chiller involved in the system as well. But as I mentioned, there's so much equipment in here that this part of the San Fernando Valley, which gets hot in the summertime, may end up having an issue with that refrigeration unit blowing its heat in here, all the heat coming from the filter system. So that will have to be something that we'll watch. We've got the filter back here kind of surrounded by this insulation to try to hold some of that cool temperature in. And as you can see, again, a standard wet-dry trickle filter. We've got some net here to try to minimize any of the debris that might land in the open end of the filter. And then there's the bioball section back here that's driven by an Milwaukee pump. And as I mentioned, there's a refrigeration unit back there. We did end up adding this canister filter here to try to minimize the particulate that got sent back into the tank, because unfortunately, the way the guys set up this system, all the debris kept recirculating and would get picked up by the water pump, and eventually they just sent right back into the tank. So we had to put again, this canister filter in there to try to minimize the amount of particulate that went back to the system.
In addition to a potential heat or ventilation issue, there's also a space issue. Really, just not enough space. I find myself lifting these 5-gallon jugs at shoulder height. But I guess that's how we get the big muscles, huh?
So we'll go ahead and start by turning off the water flow, closing the gate valve entirely. That will allow us to remove the lid, the access lid, off the return pocket, as well as that egg crate grid, and not worry that any of the jellyfish are going to escape out of the system. So we'll go ahead and loosen these thumb screws that hold the access lid on top of the tank. This will allow us into what I call the return pocket, which is where the water comes in from the filter system into the tank and then is diffused out directly into the system. And this is a simple little lid here that we can lift off, but you can see the algae that's grown upon it. We'll set that off to the side right there. Make sure to put those plastic screws in our pocket so we don't lose them. And then there's the thumb screw, the loosen, that holds that egg crate panel in place. And that allows the water to exit, but keeps the jellies in the tank. That too, we'll set off to the side. And you can see here the top of the system. We've got access into the filter compartment here, or return pocket, and then access directly into the tank over here. Now we'll go ahead and clean the top of that return pocket. One of my frustrations has been the amount of sediment that still continues to collect in the tank, and I've pretty much come to the conclusion that a lot of that I bring in with the filter pad that I've probably used on someone else's tank, and as I get in and clean, some of those small granules end up falling into this tank. So what I probably should do is dedicate a filter pad specifically for this aquarium to try to minimize that. Now here's a jelly right here who's trying to escape, but there's no flow exiting the tank, so as long as I don't bump into him and tear him, I think he'll be fine.
We'll go ahead and use that filter pad to wipe the inside of the return pocket because debris collects in this area as well. But it's also what I call the flute, which is what diffuses the flow of water out of the return pocket into the tank, and that narrow little slot deep inside it that's a little bit difficult to control all the algae or get to all the algae.
And with the water flow off, all the jellies are going to begin to settle at the bottom, along with that's where the sand granules and debris is beginning to collect. So as we go in there to clean the bottom of the tank as well as siphon that debris out, we have to kind of either work our way around those jellies or create a little bit of a current to kind of stir them up a little bit.
When in Los Angeles, make it a point to stop in Long Beach, California at Age of Aquariums. 2642 Cherry Avenue, just off the 405 freeway near Signal Hill. At Age of Aquariums, their knowledgeable staff showcases designer aquariums featuring colorful corals and exotic fish, a spectacular 4-sided 500-gallon living coral reef, along with a wide selection of coral frags and a large selection of saltwater fish, the cute, the graceful, and the not so cute. Age of Aquariums also carries a selection of popular freshwater fish for the beginning hobbyist. Along with a full line of aquarium supplies and supplements, Age of Aquariums quarantines and medicates all their new fish and proudly provides LA and Orange County's largest aquarium maintenance service. Age of Aquarium is located at 2642 Cherry Avenue, just off the 405 freeway near Signal Hill. Open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday and 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays. For more information, dial 562-438-6252 or visit ageofaquariums.biz. Add a new and exciting feature to your Jellyquarium display. LED color-changing mood lighting. Developed using energy-saving LED ribbon technology, this lighting upgrade includes a handheld remote control that has 3 settings, 7 individual mood colors, a slowly rotating rainbow of colors, and a fast-beat discotheque effect. Do you remember that 180-gallon glass reef tank that we set up last spring? Well, it's got the beginnings of a red and green algae problem. Make sure to keep an eye out for LA Fishguys episode 102 as we install an algae scrubber onto this tank. You know what an algae scrubber is, yes? It uses light and algae to consume nutrients that other algae are feeding upon. So make it a point to come on back for our next episode and see if this really works or not. So what we're going to use to clean the inside of the tank is this pad on a long handle. Now this used to be a product that you could get through the aquarium industry, and you could get yourself some replacement pads, but unfortunately this company's discontinued this product. You might want to end up looking in the direction of a pool supply. Essentially, it's just a long plastic handle with an acrylic cleaning pad on the end of it that kind of swivels, and that allows us to go in at different angles and clean the inside of the tank. What I want to do here is wipe the algae free of the bottom of the tank. This tank, a jellyfish tank, unlike a regular fish tank, has no gravel and no substrate at the bottom. So once debris lands on essentially a clean surface, it becomes very obvious. But one of the challenges here is to be able to wipe or rub that algae and those loose debris off the bottom of the tank without beating up the jellyfish. Because remember, you turn the flow off, so all the jellies are sitting down at the bottom of the tank. In addition to cleaning the bottom of the tank, we also want to wipe the interior free of the buildup of bacterial slime, as well as algae that may have developed there as well. And just because it's a one-sided tank doesn't mean we don't have to clean that rear panel. We do, because the same algae and the same bacterial slime build up there as well. With the water flow turned off inside the tank, the rotation of water, or the rotation of the jellies carried by the water, begins to slow down. And so not only does the debris begin to collect at the bottom of the tank, but so do the jellies. This becomes a trick with the next step we're going to take. Now that we've got the inside of the tank kind of wiped down, we want to go in and try to siphon out that debris in the inside of the tank. As a matter of fact, there's 2 places we need to siphon debris out of. One, obviously the bottom of the tank, where the gravity has allowed some of that sand and uneaten fish food to collect. And number 2 is the bottom of what I call the return pocket, which is where the water comes in from the filter system before it's diffused into the tank. That's an area where some debris will collect as well. I've got a siphon hose here, and I've created a little siphon wand just out of a piece of PVC pipe and put a little barbed fitting on the end of it so that I can take and get the end of my hose on there without it falling off. And now I've got a
siphon apparatus that I can use to surgically go in and siphon the debris off the bottom of the tank. But we have to be careful we don't suck up those jellyfish.
And believe me, it's very easy to suck up the jellyfish if you're not paying attention. For all intent and purpose, they're a little wet piece of toilet paper floating around inside the tank. And as you get that vacuum or that siphon near them, you can easily draw them up. This homemade siphon wand has a suction radius of about 6 inches, so you have to keep that in mind as you come near those small little jellyfish. The jellyfish are so delicate that once they've been sucked up to the intake of the siphon wand, this would tear them, which would cause irreparable damage to the jelly itself. And usually it's the thump-thump of the jellyfish you didn't see that got sucked up through your hose, the thump-thump being as he passes through your siphon hose. And as we move forward, cleaning the tank will make it a point to save a little bit of room in our siphon bucket for the debris that we want to suck out of the bottom of the return pocket. This is an area where debris tends to collect as well. Alright, so I think we've managed to go through and siphon all that loose debris out of not only the bottom of the tank, but the filter or return pocket here. And I don't believe we sucked up any jellyfish. So make it a point to come on back for part 3 of LA Fishguys as we finish servicing the jellyfish tank and then discuss how we're going to go about feeding the jellyfish.